Hey guys, good afternoon. It is I, Messy. Wanted to start my new segment of traveling with Messy to old ghost towns, a little bit of history, and a little bit of sensitivity, if you must. So, this town that I'm going to be talking about is very special to me. I have been there a handful of times, but I first came in contact with this town in the early 2000s. And let me tell you, I have never left. I think some of my soul may be there, but I digress. Anyway, this town has been a staple in my family, obviously. I've taken my children there. I've run away probably a handful of times with my better half up there just to explore, because there's always something new to learn about Bannack. And yes, folks, I'm talking about Bannack, Montana. This town is crazy. It has a lot of energy, a lot of spirits, a lot of residual energy. Bannack, Montana basically started in 1862. There was a gentleman by the name of John White. He was panning in the Grasshopper Creek area, and lo and behold, he came up with some gold. Why can't I do that? Like, I always wanted to go panning for gold, but I end up panning for nothing, just rocks. Anyway, so during that time, Bannack, Montana really flourished. It grew from maybe 2 or 3 prospectors to a handful and up to 10,000 people within 6 months to a year. That's a lot of people. So during that time, there was a lot of, sickness. There was a lot of violence. People have a claim. They've seen the person's gaining some gold and they're like, either you sell it to me or, so there was the violence. There was childbirth was not the greatest back in those days. Even after, doctors didn't know a lot or didn't really care too much. I hate to say didn't care too much, but it was not on their top forte for, hygiene for a lady who was having a baby. And it was very hard winters there too. So if you're having a child in the middle of winter and the doctor's not very close, here we are. So it kind of makes you appreciate how hard it was to live back in those days and appreciate your own family and what they had to live through. So if you ever go to Bannack, Montana, and you want to learn a little bit more about the town, definitely stop at the cemetery before you go into Bannack. There's a cemetery that was built after. There's 2 of them. There's one that's actually in the town of Bannack, up on a hill, and yes, folks, you have to hike to it. So hopefully you're healthy enough to hike the hill, because I died almost twice going up and almost getting bit by a snake. Yes, guys, there are rattlers there, especially during the summertime. So please, please, please watch where you step. The state park does try to keep them at bay, but animals are animals, reptiles are reptiles, nope noodles are nope noodles. So yeah. But it's very interesting when you go in there, because you can definitely read on each stone, died of illness. There is a lot of veterans in there, which, are near and dear to my heart. And, a lot of children, a lot of young mothers. You could definitely learn the history of a place if you stop at the cemetery and pay your respects. So also, guys, please don't take money off the stones. Those are offerings, and if you don't know what that means, look it up. That's my thing. Anyway, as we know, Bannack, Montana grew to an influx of a lot of people. They started building buildings. There was the first courthouse that was built, which is now called the Mead Hotel. I will get into a little bit of my experiences going in there, as well as a couple other places. And then in 1863 until 1864, there was a gentleman by the name of Henry Plummer. Now, Henry Plummer came from Maine. I think he was born in Addison, Maine, is what they called it, or what it was called. He was a prospector, he was an outlaw, and he was a lawman. So he kind of had walked the fine line, I guess you could say. When he became the sheriff of Bannack, Montana, he apparently also created what was called the Innocents group, and he was like a leader of a road agents, or the Innocents, which had a handful of people that were robbing between Virginia City, Montana, and Bannack, Montana. There was a few men that were murdered for the profits that they gained from the mines or their claims. And in about early January 1864, there was a group of vigilantes that were developed. It was the Vigilante Committee of Alder Gulch. And they began to take some action against these people who were killing innocent miners. They began to suspect that Henry Plummer had a lot to do with it. And there was two people that said, yes, Henry Plummer is the leader of the Innocent gang. And they decided to go in the early morning hours of January 10th, get Mr. Plummer out of his slumber, and they decided to hang him. He did not have a trial. They just said, nope, you're guilty. Took two of his associates, took them out to the gallows, which you can actually see from the jail cell that's built, and they hung him. And before they decided to drop him, they asked, do you have any last words? And he said, give me a good drop, boys. Just give me a good drop. That's kind of haunting, isn't it? So after that, this vigilante committee decided to go after first, some more people who were involved with the Innocents. I would say maybe a handful of Mormon that were hung between Bannack and Virginia City, Montana. And you can visit some of their graves up in Virginia City, which is pretty interesting. It's more of a touristy town, but it's not bad. Kids seem to like it. There's a lot of reenactments going on. And especially in Bannack now, there is what they call Bannack Days, which is, I believe, held in June or July, where they have reenactments. They have, a photographer who takes old-time photos. Yeah, and they show kids how to pan. So it's a good historical time for people to learn about Bannack, Montana. Just so you guys know, there's at least 50 original buildings still there. So yeah, pretty cool. If you guys ever want to go, you can even camp outside of it on Grasshopper Creek. It's very pretty. I will tell you, there's mosquitoes, so wear your repellent. So I'm going to go into on part 2 of my impressions as a medium walking into the building. Stay tuned, guys.